Some illusions are beautifully dressed, they speak the right language, they feel spiritual. They even bring a momentary peace to the heart. But deep inside, something doesn't move. The energy doesn't shift. The manifestation doesn't arrive. And you wonder, why does this still not work even when I'm doing everything right? This is the silent contradiction that keeps so many awakened souls trapped. Not because they lack wisdom, but because their practice is built on a frequency that subtly negates their desire. You visualize, you meditate, you say the affirmations, but underneath it all, there's a vibration of reaching, of waiting, of asking. You're doing the right things, but from a place that still feels disconnected from what you already are. Neville Goddard said, "You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are." And this truth reveals a hard but freeing realization. Your subconscious doesn't respond to your intentions. It responds to your identity, to the version of you that you occupy most of the time, to the tone of your inner silence when no one is watching. This is where the misapplication of feeling is the secret happens. Most people believe they are feeling from the end, but are really feeling from the fear that it hasn't happened yet. They close their eyes to visualize a better life, but their body is still contracted in survival. Their breath still carries the memory of lack. And the universe, silent and loyal, mirrors exactly that. Bruce Lipton calls this the cellular programming of our environment. When we visualize from a trauma-shaped identity, we're not creating, we're reinforcing. The body records the doubt, the field replays the conflict. And the same reality loops back like a teacher repeating a lesson we didn't fully feel yet. That's why this video isn't just about technique, it's about vibration. It's not here to teach you how to visualize, but to reveal why your visualization, even when it looks right, may be built on rejection instead of embodiment. You'll feel the difference, because something in you already knows the truth. You can't fake coherence. You can't trick the universe with beautiful images if your inner state whispers fear and disbelief. So we begin here, not with another method, but with a mirror, with a spiritual audit of the frequencies behind your practices, a reclamation of what it really means to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It's not about asking the universe to bring it to you. It's about remembering that the universe can only reflect what you already accept as true. Let's uncover the subtle energies that sabotage your creation. Not from what you're doing, but from what you're still believing beneath the surface. Because the truth is simple. If your identity contradicts your vision, your vibration will cancel it. And when you stop visualizing from need and start radiating from knowing, everything begins to change. There's a kind of prayer that doesn't ask with words. It begs with energy. It happens when your mind says, "I trust," but your nervous system says, "Please fix this now." You close your eyes to imagine the life you want, but underneath, your body is still trembling from what hasn't happened. That's not creation. That's energetic escape. And here lies the first hidden block. Visualizing not from presence but from panic. You're not embodying the future. You're trying to run from the present. And the universe doesn't respond to what you wish you felt. It reflects what your being is radiating. Neville Goddard called it living in the end. Not imagining the end. Not hoping for the end. Living it. Breathing as if it's already true, without resistance or urgency. But when you visualize with the hidden intention of fixing something, you're not creating, you're contradicting. That's why so many manifestations delay, not because they're far away, but because they're vibrationally confused. You say you're ready, but you're vibrating emergency. You want abundance, but you're radiating survival. This is what I call spiritualized anxiety, the kind of spiritual practice that looks peaceful on the surface but is infused with tension, with the silent panic that says, "If I don't do this, I won't receive." The act may seem sacred, but the signal is distorted. The seed is being planted in soil that doesn't trust the season. And you felt this, that rush to visualize when you feel fear, that sudden pressure to imagine success when your bank account drops, that desperate meditation after a breakup. But true manifestation doesn't emerge from reaction. It emerges from resonance. If you plant a seed and dig it up every day to see if it has grown, it won't. Not because the seed isn't real, but because you're not trusting its process. The same is true for your desires. When you visualize with urgency, you interrupt the signal. You vibrate from absence. And absence cannot produce presence. So when the impulse to visualize comes from fear, pause, recalibrate. Breathe into the now. until you no longer need to escape it. Feel your feet on the floor, your breath softening, your body remembering safety. Then, from that stillness, feel the vision, not as a lifeline, but as a memory of what's already true. Because the universe is not responding to your pictures, it's responding to your frequency. And when you stop using visualization to run from pain and start using it to remember your power, you stop begging and begin becoming. There's a silence in your energy that speaks louder than your words. It's the space between your affirmations, the pause in your breath before you visualize, the subtle tension in your chest that whispers, "I don't know if I'm allowed to have this." You say the right things. You picture the dream life. But underneath, something doesn't fully believe you're a match for it. This is where most manifestation breaks down, not in the mind, but in the body. You may think you're aligned because your thoughts are focused, but energy isn't moved by thoughts alone. It listens to identity, and identity lives deeper, beneath what you say, beneath what you try to feel. It lives in what you truly allow yourself to become. There's a silent conflict between what you desire and what you've given yourself permission to receive. And until you resolve it, the universe will reflect that ambiguity back to you, not as punishment, but as a mirror, as a question. Are you asking, or are you being? Neville taught this through the law of assumption. You don't get what you want. You get what you've accepted as already yours. Bruce Lipton would echo it through biology. Your cells respond not to your intentions, but to the emotional environment you live in. If your inner world says almost, or maybe, the field responds with delay, confusion, and near misses. You've likely seen it happen. A promotion that comes close but slips away. A relationship that feels perfect, then suddenly ends. Money that arrives, but doesn't stay. These aren't failures. They're vibrational compatibility tests. The universe isn't testing your worth. It's revealing what you still believe you can't hold. This is where the Galatea effect speaks. It's a psychological truth. People rise, or fall, to the level of their own expectations. Not conscious ones. Subconscious ones. The ones buried in your posture, your tone, your breath. And you can't fake it. You can't force belief. But you can feel into it. You can learn to listen to the resonance of your own being. Ask your body, not your mind. Let it answer in sensations. When you think of receiving that life, does your chest open or close? Does your breath deepen or tighten? That is your vibrational audit. That is your energetic truth. It's not about trying to feel worthy. It's about discovering whether the self you've become can hold what you're asking for. Imagine this. You already have the key, but instead of using it, you stand at the door hoping someone else will open it for you. That's what desire without permission feels like. You are already holding the vibration required, but part of you doesn't know it yet. So the shift isn't about doing more. It's about allowing more. Trusting that your vision is already valid, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. You don't have to force your way into alignment. You just have to stop pretending you're not ready. Because readiness isn't a feeling. It's a state of being. And once your energy says yes, life has no choice but to reflect that yes back to you. There's a kind of gratitude that sounds right, but doesn't resonate. It's the kind you say because you think you should. Because all the books say to be thankful in advance. Because you're told that gratitude aligns you with abundance. But underneath the words, there's hesitation. A quiet doubt. A hope that saying thank you will convince the universe to deliver faster. This is not gratitude. It's a transaction disguised as faith. And it creates a subtle dissonance in your field. Because even as you express appreciation, part of you is still waiting for proof. Still watching the clock. Still measuring whether the energy is working fast enough. This kind of forced gratitude is not alignment, it's performance. And the universe doesn't respond to performance. It responds to presence. Neville Goddard reminds us that assumption is the key. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not to plead, not to convince. It is to know. To walk through life as though the shift has already happened. But when your gratitude is filled with tension, with the vibration of, "I hope this works," then what you are really affirming is that it hasn't happened yet. And the universe, ever faithful, mirrors exactly that. Greg Braden speaks of emotional coherence, the alignment between heart, mind, and body. When your gratitude is real, it isn't loud. It doesn't need to be repeated 100 times, it's in your breath. It's in how you walk, how you sit, how you meet the moment. Real gratitude is not a strategy. It's a signal. It says, I have it. I feel it. It's already here. That's why the most powerful shift isn't to be grateful for what you want. It's to become the kind of person who no longer needs to prove their gratitude. You don't need to repeat it. You need to embody it. Gratitude is not a currency. It's not payment for a manifestation. It's confirmation of a state already occupied. So try this. Instead of saying thank you for what you hope to have, write from the self who already has it. Let your words come from the end. Speak not as someone trying to receive, but as someone remembering what is already true. Let your pen become the voice of your future self, that version of you who is calm, grounded, certain, fulfilled, not because they convinced the universe, but because they stopped needing to. This is the reversal. You don't give gratitude to get results. You receive results because you've entered the frequency where gratitude is natural. And when that shift happens, you no longer chase outcomes. You live inside them. You move through the day with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the universe is not a genie. It's a mirror. And when your energy says, it is done, there is nothing more to ask for. There is only the joy of watching what's already yours unfold, in its own perfect rhythm. Before we move on, pause with me for just a breath. If something inside you is beginning to recognize the real reason things haven't shifted yet, if these words are resonating where techniques never reached, then I've left something for you in the pinned comment. Not as another theory, but as a continuation of what you're already feeling. When you're ready, it's there, quietly waiting for you to see what you've been sensing all along. Sometimes what we call visualization is not creation, it's negotiation. You sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine the life you want, the success, the love, the peace. But underneath the scene is a silent plea. If I do this right, maybe I'll finally be enough. It's subtle, but the energy is clear. You're not just imagining a reality, you're trying to earn it. This is the hidden dynamic that turns manifestation into a performance. You picture wealth, but your frequency says, I'll be worthy once I have it. You visualize love, but your nervous system trembles with the fear of not being chosen. And without realizing it, your visualization becomes a contract with lack. Give me this, and then I'll feel safe. Then I'll believe I'm whole. But that's not how energy works. Neville taught that the outer world reflects your inner state, not your inner wish. If you visualize from a self-image built on unworthiness, then what you are really broadcasting is the frequency of not yet. And the universe, ever precise, doesn't translate your words. It mirrors your vibration. It's like sending a signal from two different radios. One says, I am abundant, while the other, louder one, whispers, but I don't know if I deserve it. That's the split that creates delay, distortion, and doubt. And you feel it when your mind says yes, but your heart stays closed. When your images are beautiful, but your body remains contracted. This internal contradiction often leads to what psychology calls cognitive dissonance, the emotional stress of living between two selves, one who hopes and one who doesn't believe. And in that gap, the manifestation is suspended, not because the universe is withholding, but because your vibration hasn't yet become unified. So instead of pushing harder, listen deeper. Let the bargaining fall away. Let the part of you that's still negotiating come into the light, not to be judged, but to be seen. And then feel what happens when you imagine losing the very thing you desire. Feel the grief, the fear, and now, imagine it returning, not because you earned it, but because it was always yours. Let your nervous system feel that you no longer need to trade effort for worthiness, that you no longer have to be perfect to be trusted with what you've asked for. Let your energy settle into the truth that nothing real is ever gained through fear, because when your vision comes from desperation, the mind feels unstable. But when it arises from inner certainty, the field recognizes you. Your subconscious relaxes, your energy integrates, and suddenly you're not performing the version of you who has it. You're simply being it. That's when the shift happens, quietly, powerfully, irreversibly, because now the universe isn't dealing with two versions of you. It sees one, clear, steady, aligned. And in that clarity, life rushes to meet you, not because you convinced it, but because you finally stopped hiding behind the doubt that said you weren't enough. Not every delay is denial. Some are filters. You think you're ready for more money, more love, more freedom. And in your conscious mind, you are. You've studied, you've healed, you've visualized. But the universe, in its silent intelligence, isn't checking your desire. It's checking your compatibility, not with punishment, but with precision. Neville spoke of possession before projection, that you must first embody the feeling of having what you want, before the world can reflect it. It's not about earning the manifestation. It's about becoming someone who naturally lives inside it. And that's where most people get stuck, because they ask for a new life while unconsciously behaving as if they're still untrusted with it. Think about how you treat what you already have. How do you hold the little moments, the small opportunities, the first signs? Do you manage $50 with the same presence and care you say you'd give to 50,000? Do you treat time, love, and attention with the same depth you imagine you would if everything you wanted arrived? This is the test you didn't know you were already taking. Life is not measuring your worth. It's reading your alignment. And the results show up in how you respond to the small, the quiet, the in-between. Not because the universe needs proof, but because it reflects your own signal of readiness. It's like being watched for a promotion, not by a boss, but by your own vibration. Every micro-choice is a declaration, I already am, or I'm still waiting to become. And the frequency you embody, especially in the moments no one sees, is the frequency that gets amplified. That's why the shift isn't about sudden transformation. It's about consistent coherence, daily integrity, tiny rituals of presence that signal, I'm already living inside the version of me who receives with ease. Make your coffee like someone who already owns their time. Answer emails like someone who feels trusted. Handle money, however small, with the reverence of someone who already has plenty. This isn't about pretending. It's about programming. It's about teaching your body to normalize what you've been postponing as a future identity. Because when you live the vibration now, the external has no choice but to align. You won't have to chase signs. You won't need to force outcomes. The field will shift. The reflection will appear. Not because the universe suddenly decided you were ready, but because you did. And in that moment, what once felt far will feel familiar. Not because it just arrived, but because you finally rose into the self that could hold it. Quietly, naturally, without negotiation, without strain, only the soft certainty that you've always been the one. And now, you're living as if that truth is finally allowed to be seen. There's a kind of silence that doesn't mean absence. It means listening. You've felt it, that quiet space after a powerful visualization, that pause after deep intention, where nothing seems to move. No signs, no confirmations, just stillness. And the mind panics. It thinks, nothing's happening. Maybe it didn't work. Maybe I did something wrong. But silence is not the enemy. It's the response. Because the universe doesn't speak in noise. It speaks in mirrors. And sometimes it holds up a mirror made entirely of stillness to show you whether you can hold your frequency without needing proof. This is not delay. It's a testing ground. A space where your vibration is being measured not by what you say, but by how you stay. Bruce Lipton's work on cellular reception explains it simply. Your body is always listening. Not to outcomes, but to emotional consistency. When your environment changes, your cells adapt. But when your emotions fluctuate wildly between hope and fear, between certainty and doubt, your biology sends mixed signals, and the field returns mixed reflections. That's why the silence after intention is so sacred. It's the moment your frequency is asked to become stable, to hold its tone, to vibrate not with question, but with knowing. This is where so many unconsciously undo their manifestation, not by doubting out loud, but by shifting their energy in subtle, invisible ways. They stop being the version of self who had already received. They go back to asking, to chasing, to waiting. But the stillness was never rejection. It was alignment in progress. It's like the earth after planting a seed. You don't hear anything. You don't see movement. But deep beneath, life is reorganizing. Roots are forming. The unseen is preparing the scene. And if you interrupt that silence with doubt, you uproot the very reality that was making its way toward you. This is why the most powerful practice isn't always more visualization. It's more stillness. It's the ability to sit with your desire already fulfilled and not need confirmation, not need evidence, just presence. Just the calm, unwavering trust that says, I've already become it. Let your energy prove itself through steadiness. Let your nervous system feel what it means to remain unchanged by delay. Because in that stillness, you are becoming the version of you who is no longer negotiating with life but partnering with it. And the moment you stop asking for signs, the signs appear, not to convince you, but to confirm what your energy already declared as true, that you're ready, that you're in harmony. That silence wasn't absence, it was your initiation into trust, into coherence, into the deeper language of creation, where the most profound answers are spoken without a sound. Some people visualize with clarity, but vibrate with fear. They see the relationship, the home, the success, but even as they create those images, part of their energy stays behind, watching, doubting, protecting. It's like trying to run forward while looking over your shoulder. The intention is movement, but the posture is still survival. This is what happens when fear of loss is embedded inside the act of creation. You visualize love, but your nervous system still carries the memory of heartbreak. You imagine wealth, but your breath tightens as if it could all disappear again. The images are beautiful, but the emotion beneath them whispers, what if it doesn't last? And the universe doesn't separate the picture from the vibration. It reflects both. This is not a flaw, it's a survival reflex. The body remembers what the mind tries to override. Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks of this loop, the biochemical addiction to familiar emotions. Even when you consciously try to move forward, your body may still be loyal to past pain. You're imagining freedom, but internally rehearsing loss. It's why some people keep recreating abandonment while praying for connection, why they keep attracting instability while visualizing abundance. The subconscious isn't sabotaging you, it's protecting you from disappointment, from grief, from repeating what it never fully healed. That's why the shift isn't just visual, it must be somatic. The body must learn to trust what the mind believes. There must be coherence between the scene you imagine and the frequency you hold while imagining it. Otherwise, the field receives two messages, one of expansion and one of contraction, and it mirrors both. Imagine driving a car with your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. You're trying to move forward, but part of you is still bracing for the crash. That's what fear-infused visualization feels like, and until that inner tension dissolves, the vehicle of your manifestation can't move. So what changes it? Safety, not in the world, but in your nervous system. The ability to feel what you want without gripping it, without scanning for threats, without needing to control every outcome. This is where the shift happens, from visualizing a fantasy to anchoring a frequency. Feel your body now. Let the image arise not just in your mind, but in your skin, in your breath, in your spine. Let it be less about the picture and more about the peace it brings. That's when the visualization becomes real. Not because the scene is vivid, but because the vibration is steady. And when that steadiness arrives, fear softens. The need to look over your shoulder fades. And you begin to walk, not as someone hoping to receive, but as someone who already trusts what they've been shown. Because once the body feels safe to believe, the universe begins to believe you too. There is a gaze upon you that has nothing to do with the eyes of others. It's not about judgment. It's not about performance. It's the quiet observation of your own higher self, the part of you that remembers your power, even when you forget. And whether you know it or not, you are always being witnessed, not by the world but by your own vibration, by the silent laws that mirror not your words but your being. Neville said, all that you consent to be, you are, not what you want to be, not what you say you'll become, but what you allow yourself to embody now, without delay, without condition. And in the language of spirit, consent is not verbal, it's energetic. It shows in your reactions, in your thoughts when you wake up, in how you handle the small and the unseen. That's what I call spiritual surveillance, not as a threat, but as a mirror of integrity, because your unconscious habits are shaping your reality far more than your conscious intentions. The tone you carry when no one is listening, the story you tell yourself when you're alone, these are not invisible. They are broadcast signals, and the universe responds with perfect fidelity. You don't manifest what you rehearse once a day during your visualizations. You manifest what you repeat unconsciously, through mood, expectation, and the emotional posture you hold toward life. That's the real theater, not the scene in your mind, but the frequency in your cells. So ask gently, if my life is a reflection of my most repeated vibration, what am I currently practicing? Who am I silently becoming in the background of my days? Not to judge, but to reveal. Because the moment you become aware of your rehearsal, you reclaim your authorship. Begin acting not as someone waiting to be chosen, but as someone already appointed. Not because you've achieved everything, but because you've remembered who you are. The universe doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be coherent, to stop splitting your signal between doubt and belief, fear and faith. That's where the daily rehearsal becomes sacred, not performance, presence. Living your day as if your highest version is already here, already trusted, already visible in your actions, no matter how ordinary they may seem. And when that rehearsal becomes natural, manifestation becomes inevitable. Because the moment your energy stops asking to be seen, it starts to be reflected. And not just in signs, but in reality, in matter, in moments that echo your inner truth. Because you're no longer negotiating with life, you're embodying it. And from that place, you don't have to try to prove who you are. You simply live it, quietly, unshakably, as someone who already knows they are watched by the only presence that matters, the version of you who already has it all. The universe is always listening, not to your words, but to your consistency with the little things. You ask for more money, more freedom, more expansion. But how do you treat what you already have? Do you hold it with reverence or with impatience? Because energy doesn't multiply chaos. It mirrors coherence. Neville taught that what you assume now becomes your reality. That includes how you handle the seemingly insignificant, the way you speak to yourself, the care you give to $5, the attention you offer to the tasks no one sees. These are not tests of performance. They are reflections of vibrational stewardship. Nature gives more to the responsible, and so does the field. If you ignore what's small, you unconsciously declare, "This isn't enough to honor." But the universe responds only to what you already honor. It doesn't ask if you're perfect. It asks if you're present. Because the one who is trusted with more is the one who treasures what's here now. When you begin to treat the present like sacred ground, the future arrives not as a reward, but as a natural expansion of the self who's already living as if it's here. There's a question Neville asked that few are willing to answer honestly. Would I let me have this? Not hypothetically, not if everything aligned, but right now, just as you are. The truth is, many visualize success while silently withholding permission to receive it. Not because they're unworthy, but because they've never observed the internal rules that govern what they believe they're allowed to become. This is where transformation truly begins, not with more effort, but with deeper awareness. Bruce Lipton teaches that repetition and belief reprogram the subconscious, but repetition without observation becomes ritual without resonance. If part of you still feels guilt, fear, or shame around receiving, no amount of visualizing can override that vibration. You'll continue to chase what you've never felt permitted to hold. That's why self-observation is sacred. It reveals the unspoken contracts. I can have love, but not too much. I can succeed, but only if I suffer first. These silent agreements shape your reality far more than your conscious intentions. But when you see them, truly see them, they begin to dissolve. And in their place, a new permission emerges, not given by the world, but by you, to receive, to allow, to become, without apology, without delay, only truth, finally met with presence. Stop trying to convince the universe. Become what you keep asking for. You're not here to negotiate with life. You're here to embody it. Neville's teaching is clear. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not as a strategy, but as a state of being. If you're still asking, you're not being. And the universe responds only to what you already are, not what you hope to be. Bruce Lipton reminds us that biology shifts when belief does. Your cells, your energy, your field, everything reorganizes when you stop waiting and start living as the version of you who already has it. So stop trying to convince the universe. It doesn't need proof. It needs coherence. For the next few days, forget visualization as effort. Instead, walk, breathe, and respond as if your reality has already aligned. Because the moment you stop waiting, you become. And when you become, life meets you with nothing less than everything you've already claimed.